Welcome, everyone. My name is Joni Parsons, and welcome to Revel 11. We're so happy to have you here today. Revel 11 is all about women discussing topics that matter, topics that ignite curiosity, insights, and aha moments, and coming together for in-person events here in Seattle, Washington, and around the globe. Why? Because I really feel from the bottom of my heart that when women get together, something magical happens. And usually it's an adventure for your spirit. So welcome and thank you for being here. Today we're talking to Dr. Keira Barr, and we're so happy to have her. She really resonates with me at a deep level. Keira believes that women deserve to feel their best at every stage in life, and especially in midlife, by blending the best of what science has to offer with their own body's ability to heal, which is what I'm so interested in. Today, we're taking a look at what goes on inside of you, impacts your skin and your vitality. Keira is an international speaker, best-selling author, clinical educator, and considered a leading authority on women's health. As a former assistant clinical professor at UC Davis in the departments of both dermatology and pathology, Dr. Barr is dedicated to providing the most cutting-edge and innovative solutions for women. Her work has been featured in Mind Body Green, Bustle, Reader's Digest, Glamour, Self, Oprah, and now Revel 11. Welcome, Keira.
Gotta unmute myself. Thank you.
Yeah, there you are. First of all, before we get started, I thought it would be really interesting to ask the audience today that's with us to define true beauty for you and put that in the chat. What does the definition of true beauty mean to you? So go ahead and put that in the chat. We can talk about that a little bit. True beauty to me means being vital, being comfortable in your own skin. What about those two things, Keira?
I love them.
That's what you're all about.
I think when I think about true beauty, our surface, there's lots of changes. And especially as we get older and we're judged about all these changes, that our value isn't a measure of what our appearance is. True beauty is really knowing yourself, being aligned, and being willing to share those parts of yourself with others. I think I'm learning. Someone said being vulnerable to share all of you, and I couldn't agree more. There are so many amazing parts that, especially when we're children, we're told to be quiet or not allowed to be seen, and we hide them away. And I think true beauty is kind of letting those parts be seen in their full.
Oh, I love that so much. That's so beautiful. So Anne says exuding well-being. And Amy says being vulnerable to share all of you, which is what you were just saying. And Rachel, feeling confident and healthy. I love all of those. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So, Keira, let's start with you. Will you tell us your skin story and how all of this work started with you personally?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I became a dermatologist and have been in the field of dermatology for, oh my gosh, 25 years, a long time. And a few years ago, someone asked me, why did you go into dermatology? And my answer at the time was because I loved all that dermatology offered. You could do peds and internal medicine and surgery and aesthetics. And my subspecialty was pathology. I'd be the one, if you had a biopsy, I'd be the one to make the diagnosis. But when my health started falling apart about 10 years ago, and I made a lot of discoveries and had to make a lot of shifts and changes in my life, I realized I went into dermatology because I never felt comfortable in my skin. I was, as a kid, made fun of I was born with 2 birthmarks, one on each side of my face. And I thought they were my beauty marks as a kid. And then I go to elementary school and kids thought otherwise and made fun of me. And so I spent a lot of my formative years trying to hide
Mm.
not just the marks, but hide parts of myself that I thought were not socially acceptable. I did not fit into the standard mold. I was a short girl with dark frizzy hair. I wasn't like the blonde hair, blue eyed. So my skin story became one of low self-esteem and lacking self-confidence. And it really shaped and led the trajectory of how I navigated most of my life. And unfortunately, what I learned fast forward going to dermatology, being in health and medicine, is that story led to chronic activation of my stress response and showed up on the surface of my skin as dryness, irritation, and ultimately skin cancer. We know there's a lot of research on chronic stress, trauma, and the cancer life cycle. So the beautiful thing about the story is once you become aware of the story that you're telling, and especially using the skin metaphor, is that we have the power to exfoliate the parts of our story that are no longer serving us. And that is my goal with the work that I do, is to help women identify what their own story is. Do they love the story that they're currently telling? And are there parts of their story that are no longer serving them so that they can step into the version that they really would like to be telling?
That is so beautiful and amazing, and something most people, most dermatologists don't talk about and probably don't even think about in their practice. So knowing your authentic self is really the equation for you for vitality, both inside and out.
Absolutely. I think what most people may not realize, and a lot of dermatologists, we're taught this, but it's not really a core part of our training, is that your brain and your skin are actually derived from the same embryologic layer of tissue. So there is a connection between your mind and your skin. So what shows up on your skin and how you feel in your skin, they're intimately linked. So if we're not addressing both the outside and the inside, we're really missing a key part of, taking care of the skin that we're in.
Well, it really goes back to the mind, body, spirit connection. And we talk about this as the mind, body, skin connection, which is so lovely. And it begins with what you refer to as the me search. So ME search. What does that mean?
Yeah, I can't take credit for this term. It was one of my mentors and a lot of the somatic trauma work that I've done. And it's a term that, we talk about doing research, looking outside of ourselves to find answers and make discoveries and get solutions. But me search is really turning that focused attention and intention inwards, really looking at, I take clients through a process that I call skinny dipping, which in dermatology, we have to get people naked in order to educate people about what's on the surface of their skin, because skin cancer is the most prevalent cancer in the US. And so you have to know what to look for in order to save your own life. The same process applies for every other facet of your life. We have to be willing to look at what is here for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so me search is that process of, okay, what's happening in my life? Like I might feel exhausted. Well, why do I feel exhausted? It's an opportunity to get really curious about ourselves, and ideally do that without judgment and put the shame aside. Because I think most of us are like, oh, I feel exhausted. Like there's something wrong. Like what's wrong with me? And me search is really an opportunity to get really curious about yourself from a place of
from a place of compassion. Is that what you were going to say? So how would you suggest that people check in with themselves? I know you have a process of doing that, and one is noticing.
Yeah. So that's the first step of any process, right? And if you want to make a change, a lot of times you're like, I feel awful. I just want to change stuff, but you have no idea where to start. So this idea of noticing is you have to know what it is that you want to change in order to make the change. So noticing is a process of looking at the facets in your life. I have a framework where, it's looking at relationships and sleep and exercise and nourishment, right? You're not going to tackle all of these things at once, but if you're feeling, let's just say, tired, a lot of women say that they are exhausted. Well, that's a great opportunity. What are the things in your life that are contributing to exhaustion? And most people are like, oh, I'm just so tired. I'm working all the time. Okay, there's that. And also, what else is draining your time? A lot of it has to do with the story that we're telling, the beliefs about ourselves. Maybe it's having your phone. You don't realize how much what's in your visual environment, what you're scrolling every day, is actually creating that emotional drain as well. So it can be large things, but also simple things. So we really drill it down.
And then how about nourishing?
Yeah, so nourishing is the part that once you kind of, and again, one thing at a time, and determine that there are things that need to be I would say not need to be removed, but oftentimes we add things in. We focus on, a lot of women will say, like, I want more joy, right? They don't know what that looks like. So we get really curious, what could that look like for you? And it doesn't mean that you have to go to a vacation to Bali or whatever. What are the simple things in your everyday that you can add in? Because the more simple moments, like on my way home this morning, there was a rainbow,
Oh,
right? And I was
what a
like,
gift.
it was a gift. And it was something as simple as that, because I was feeling a little tired. I drove in last night. I was feeling a little overwhelmed by, like, oh, I have this session today, and then the delivery people might come. But then I saw the rainbow and it shifted everything. So it's these simple moments of adding more things in. It'll naturally crowd some other things out. So it can be a very simple process.
I like what you say here, and this is on Keira's website. We focus on the parts of you that need support most, whether it's mindset, food, personal care products, toxic relationships, or stress. And all of those things are so impactful for, really checking in on what's going on for you. Anything else about nourishing?
Yeah, I think it's again, that was on the website as well, but like listening in for what you're truly hungry for. I think when we talk about nourishment, a lot of folks focus on food as the primary, and eating a nutrient dense whole food diet is really important, but we're also feeding and fueling our bodies and our minds with things that are not serving us. So asking ourselves again, getting really curious, what are you truly hungry for in your life? And finding simple, small ways to add that in.
I love that so much. And finally, on these 3 tips, nurture.
Yeah. So nurturing is once you've identified what you want to be focusing your attention on, you're starting to add things in that are adding a little bit more joy or helping you feel a little more energized. Nurturing is the consistency to make it a habit, right? Maybe it's creating rituals or getting involved in a community like Revel 11 that creates an area of support with like-minded people, so that you can continue to accrue tools and resources to keep you on this trajectory.
Yes. And there's several other things that help as well. And one is sleep.
I mean, beauty sleep,
Sleep.
it's real. It really, we
It really is.
underestimate the power of sleep in so many ways. Sleep is the time that our body rejuvenates, rests and repairs, and especially for skin health. Melatonin is one of the primary hormone that we are generating at night, as well as growth hormone. And melatonin is one of the most potent antioxidants for DNA repair and hair growth. That's why melatonin has been added into topical skincare products over the last several years. So sleep is very important.
And then nutrition, of course, you talked about whole food nutrition. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but you also have movement here.
Yes.
And moving your body is so critical, right?
as I'm sitting here, like I for everyone watching, like I just moved into this house. I have no furniture. So I'm leaning over. So like movement and shaking things out is really important. We need to
Yeah.
like movement is energy. And especially when you're feeling tired, you don't have to do massive works out, but just a little bit of movement in any way that supports your body is really key. It's when we are kind of stuck in place, that frozen state, that collapse, our energy will dip. And yeah.
I
So
would add on with movement, it's just so important to get outside as well and take a, fresh breath of air and to move your body. And, one of my rituals on every day, my morning ritual includes, walking outside and it just starts your day, whether you see a rainbow or you see a new, flower. These are from my garden. Or yesterday, someone came over and I noticed a little hummingbird in the garden. I'm like, oh, look at who welcomed you just now. So it does come down to those moments of appreciating nature, as well as just the moments that are given on a day-to-day basis. One of the things, and let's talk about skin here. I think that we've talked a little bit about this as far as it being the window to your health, but talk more about skin as that inner knowing.
yeah, I think there's so much we could say about skin. Just going back to nature for just a second. As a dermatologist, you might think I'd be like, no sun, but I would say sun with caution. Getting out and getting some morning sunlight is so key for regulating your circadian rhythm, your body's natural rhythm, which will help with better sleep and mood and energy. So hands down. So in terms of your skin, I think society, the beauty industry, that $5 billion plus industry would like you to believe that whatever shows up on your skin is awful. You need to cover it up. It's a blemish, cover it up. Your skin is one of your greatest assets to let you know if things are out of balance. So for instance, many of us 40 on up, thyroid issues become a challenge. A lot of women are diagnosed with hypothyroid, and that is there's a lot of layers there as well in terms of gut dysbiosis. And this is why the focus of my work is helping people regulate their nervous system, teaching mindfulness meditation, because chronic activation of the stress response messes up the entire cascade, shuts down gut motility and hormone production and all of that. Your skin can give you clues about your thyroid health. One of the things that low functioning thyroid does, lateral third of your eyebrows, you may lose hair.
Guess what? I've lost mine.
Dryness of the skin, a lot, especially the lower half, like especially your legs, hair thinning, increased hair shedding. So those, your skin can give you clues. I see someone is asking about menopause. Oh, that's we could have a whole conversation, but the important thing is estrogen plays a significant role in the hair growth cycle, as well as in the production of hyaluronic acid, which is what gives our skin that nice, full appearance and hydration. So as estrogen begins to decline, progesterone declines first, and progesterone, we know, has been shown to play a role in skin thickness and elasticity, somewhat in hair growth as well. That starts to decline in your mid to late 30s, followed by estrogen, which starts to decline probably closer in the 40s. Women will notice potentially that their hair is thinning, their part might be getting a little bit wider, increased hair shedding, their skin is dry and a little bit more irritated. It doesn't have that radiant glow, increased fine lines and wrinkles because hyaluronic acid production is decreasing as well. So those are, and vaginal dryness. Hello,
big thing.
Your intimate bits are skin, that mucosa. So a decrease in estrogen is going to also contribute to vaginal dryness, urethral irritations. This is why some women may also develop urinary tract infections that they didn't have an issue before because the tissue is atrophying, there's more irritation. So there are many ways that our hormones can affect our skin in menopause.
So Keira, can you talk about how to balance the hormones whether you're 30 or whether you're, 58, or how old am I? 59, for instance. What do I do? What do we do to really look at hormones and to have them help us as opposed to create all of these issues that we're having, or that are potential to have, I should say?
I would say, number one, each one of us is individual. We come in kind of like you're holding a cup, right? Some of us have our cup a third full, half full, almost all the way full with various different stressors. So there's something called the exposome. Everything in our environment that can be a stress on our bodies, and our body prioritizes our survival. And it produces our primary stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline in order to do that. Production of our other hormones take a back seat when we feel like we're under chronic duress. So thyroid hormone, sex hormones, production will decline. You will start to notice some of the symptoms and side effects, worsening of menopause symptoms, hypo or hyperthyroid. Things can get out of whack when our bodies feel like they're under duress. So there's lots of supplements and hormone supplementation, all the things, but it really goes back to the basics. Doing the me search. Am I tired? Okay, let's just focus on sleep for a moment. What are the things that may be getting in the way of my getting quality sleep? When am I putting this down? Am I going from morning until night and then falling into bed? Well, we know that blue light can affect your circadian rhythm and your sleep. So making an agreement with yourself of putting your phone away at least an hour to 2 hours before bedtime and see, right? Start with one thing, hydration. We know that not hydrating our body enough slows down our body's processes. It can drain our energy, things like that. So the recommendation is drinking at least half your body weight in water on a daily basis. You mentioned movement.
And in ounces, I just want to add.
Ounces.
Half your body weight in ounces.
Of water, yes. But I
Yeah.
mean, going back to the basics of before you add in any supplements or hormone, like getting our stressors, knowing what our own stressors are in our own life. And again, that's where noticing and, evaluating the things that are standing in the way of you feeling your best. You might need support. You might need supplements, you might need medication, might need testing. Okay, great. But you can start on your own of evaluating what are the things for me that are making me feel not so good. And
well, let's talk about some of these tips that you have, because I think this goes right into that about hydration, drinking half of your body weight in ounces per day. I mean, that's a lot, and I know it's overwhelming, and you have to, take time to go to the bathroom, and it takes time to drink that much water, but it's so important for for cleansing your body and for your skin health. Whole foods. Why whole foods?
Because our body knows how to process whole foods.
It's really simple, isn't it?
I mean, our bodies are amazing machines, but they don't know what monosodium glutamate is, and may not know, like, it'll do its damnedest to process it, but our body needs proteins and complex carbohydrates and amino acids that we get from our proteins, like whole food sources, so their body can get the fuel that it needs to support our optimal well-being and health. That's really what it comes down to. Again, simple stuff that I say it's simple. Simple doesn't always mean easy, but whole foods gives our bodies the best chance to get the nourishment that it truly needs to fuel the lifestyle that you want to be living.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about sleep quite a bit. One of the things I've been doing recently is going to bed about an hour earlier than normal and just resting, and maybe doing a little bit of reading, but not necessarily being on my phone. And that's really helped me. I'm also doing Sober October right now, so I am sleeping better. And we can talk more about alcohol in a little bit. But Rachel wanted to know, do you have more suggestions for insomnia? Because many of us of a certain age struggle with that, and others of all ages do as well. So,
and again, each individual, the factors that may be contributing are different. But again, what are the things that can get in the way of sleep? If you're not on, your devices, making sure that you've created a sleep environment that is conducive to restful sleep. I use blackout shades. I have an eye mask that I absolutely adore. And I wear earplugs. I started doing that
wow.
because my husband all of a sudden started doing this funny thing, like making this noise. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Earplugs really helps. Keeping your bedroom cool. So the recommendation is 67 to 60, in the high 60s, keeping your room cool and dark. Making sure that your sheets and your bedding is comfortable, right? So setting yourself up for sleep success by creating a sleep environment that's conducive to good sleep is important. Aromatherapy, perhaps, or sound. I use earplugs, but some people find noise machines very helpful. Making sure you're off your device. When you eat and what you eat is also important. So our body, one of the greatest stresses that we put on our body every single day, multiple times a day, is eating. And so the recommendation is to have your last meal several hours before you plan to go to bed, and making sure that it has, the trifecta of fat, fiber, and protein, so that your insulin, your blood sugar regulating hormone, is not spiking up and down, because we know that blood sugar dysregulation is a stress on the body. Your body will think that it's under, alert, and needs to fire up the troops to produce more glucose. So making sure that you're eating a meal that has some fat, fiber, and protein to balance out that blood sugar level is important. Alcohol, especially, I'm not saying not enjoy a cocktail, but alcohol in the evening, it definitely will dysregulate your sleep rhythm, because it causes blood sugar and insulin spikes. So when the timing of alcohol consumption is also important. So those are just a few tips.
Yeah, and those are also good, and things that we don't necessarily think about when we think about clear skin and what makes our skin vibrant and healthy. You have a couple of other things about reducing sugars, which we just talked about, processed food, but dairy you have as far as acne, and or how are those related?
Yeah, so sugar and acne, we know a lot of women in their 40s and 50s are having breakouts that they never had before. And part of that is there is dairy binds to a receptor called insulin growth factor 1, and it directly stimulates our oil glands and can trigger inflammation, two of the important factors that contribute to acne formation. So not everyone is going to be prone or vulnerable, but there are some people that find when they eliminate dairy, their skin clears up. So it's something to consider if you eat a lot of dairy and you're like, hey, my skin is breaking out, I'm going to experiment. And the recommendation is at least a 3-week elimination.
Lovely. And then I think it's really important here to talk about top tips, including cleansers and gentle cleansing opportunities for what we put on our face. And I would say not just on our face, but on our skin as a whole. And many people don't think about the products that they buy and how it impacts them both externally, but also internally. What do you recommend?
Yeah, I think I'm not tied to any particular brand, but I think that the gentle cleansers, a lot of times non-foaming cleansers, ones without fragrance, things that are mentioned that they're pH balanced or for sensitive skin. We know that as our hormones are shifting, our skin is naturally acidic, but as our hormones shift, the pH of our skin begins to shift, especially around age 50. And so we have a skin microbiome, the bacteria that's on our skin that helps keep the skin barrier functioning at its optimal level. Well, some of the products that we use can disrupt that skin microbiome, alter the pH, and you might find that products that you could use, in your 30s and 40s you no longer can use because your skin is a little bit more sensitive. So sometimes it is a little bit of trial and error, but looking for cleansers, the non-foaming, non-fragranced, gentle, sensitive skin cleansers are helpful.
And how important is it for the product to be organic?
I mean, ideally, the things that we put on our skin do get absorbed into our skin. But finding organic products isn't always accessible.
Mhm. There's a couple of resources as far as clean beauty, and we'll put those in the follow-up email, so you can see those. There's options for, vegan products as well as organic, and what this list will outline to you which ones are the best on the market. So we'll find that and get that out there as well. As far as you talk about the skincare saboteur and you have a test on your website, I think that it'd be really important to talk about that and to invite people to go on the website and take that test. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I think women know that, they find out I'm a dermatologist. You're like, what skincare product should I use? My skin, I need a new routine. And so the quiz is a 2-minute quiz that lets you know, like, helps you out. Do you need to upgrade your skincare routine? But I think after attending this talk, you know that those questions are going to have a lot more to do, not with the product, but helping you do your me search. What are the things in your life that are contributing to what may be showing up in your skin? So it'll drill down into what may be most important and valuable to you and give you specific tips for whether, how best to go about making some simple shifts to support your skin health inside and out.
I just love that, again, I said this earlier, that you're talking about the emotional side of skincare. And what are some parting things that you would like folks to know about skincare looking from the inside out?
I think, especially those of us socialized as women, so much of the messages and messaging that we've received throughout our lives are that who we are and what we do and how we look isn't okay. And I want to help us all reframe that who you are is beautiful, just as you are. And yes, there are things that we can do to support our vitality and our longevity through lifestyle habits. But it really comes down to that felt sense of what it feels like to be in our skin. And that's why I teach so much about mindfulness meditation, trauma healing, because these are deep wounds that can take hold, and they show up in not just on the surface. Like I said, stress, there's strong correlation between stress, trauma, and cancer biology, skin cancer being a significant component. We know that stress plays a role in psoriasis and in eczema and in alopecia and in vitiligo. So many of the things that people don't think about, and dermatologists are only treating with topical products and prescription products, but attending to our mental and emotional health and learning the skills and tools to be able to soothe yourself in many ways in the support of community is so important. So I just want to offer that don't let the messages from, anti-aging, we don't want to be any anything about ourselves, right? This is our time to age with grace and dignity. And that's why I'm grateful that you created this space today. So we can do that.
Let's step into that power as women. So Rachel has a question about how do you feel about bioidentical hormones?
I think for so many women, if it is a choice that feels aligned, that menopause hormone therapy can be incredibly supportive.
Mm-hmm.
The 2001 Women's Health Initiative study was a flawed study. It put the fear in prescribing physicians and in women around the world that hormone replacement therapy was more dangerous. Obviously, again, every person needs to assess their own individual risk, but we know even women who have had a history of breast cancer, using hormone therapy can still be a safe option, but doing so under the guidance of a menopause specialist. For a while, I was prescribing bioidentical hormones. I use them myself. I think in the right set and setting can be very supportive, but that's a very individual choice. Yeah.
I agree with that. And you have to do your homework and ask questions and talk to various doctors and or naturopaths about that decision. I did not want to do it for a long time, and then I ended up doing it through many questions with much time spent with my naturopath talking about the pros and cons. So definitely reach out to your specialist, whomever he or she is. Keira, I want to thank you so much for this amazing conversation, and something that, I hope that we can talk more about is the mind, body, spirit, and skin connection, and what is happening on the inside impacts you greatly on the outside as well. Also, I'd like to invite you to go to Keira's website. There's some great information. There's the test. You can also sign up for some emails from her. She has a 5-day meditation that's 10 minutes a day, which I signed up for. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. But thank you for your time. And we're just so grateful to have you here today. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.